Hello everyone. A very good evening to all of you. I welcome all of you to this live session on how to ace interviews with product-based companies. My name is Shantanu Rana and I will be your host for this session today. In this session, we will discuss about the interview preparation for product-based companies. The session will be helpful for freshers as well as recent graduates who wish to make a career in such companies. By the end of this session, you will be able to understand how you can switch from a service-based company to a product-based company. Also, at the end of this session, we'll spare some time for your queries. If you have any doubts or any questions throughout the session, please feel free to use the chat box or the comment box, and the speaker of the session will be answering all those queries towards the end. Talking about the speaker, I am very pleased to welcome for Mr. Raj Vikramaditya for today's session. Raj works as a software engineer at Google. Along with Google, Raj has cracked multiple product-based companies interviews. He has mentored thousands of learners to crack tech interviews and secure their dream job. So please welcome Mr. Raj Vikramaditya. Over to you, Raj.
Thank you so much, Shantanu, for the warm welcome. Hey everyone, how's everyone doing? So we'll get started with the session. I'll be sharing you a presentation and it will have a bunch of information in it. So yeah, let's without actually wasting any time, as I say, let's share my screen. I hope my screen is visible. Okay, let me quickly check if my screen is visible or not.
Yes, it is visible,
It's visible.
Raj.
Okay, perfect. So we're going to talk about placement because the placement season is nearby. If you're someone who's working in a service-based company, you will be looking forward to switch very soon. So yeah, the session name goes as placement. So what are your dream companies? Can you tell me that in the comment section? Like for me, the order, like when I was in my college, the order went as Google, Amazon, Microsoft, and then in case I could not crack, Facebook was there, but as I know as a fresher, cracking Facebook from India is practically impossible because they don't hire freshers. So that's where like that was my list. Which is your dream company? Probably you can tell me that in the comments. I'm reading the comments side by side. So for me, it was Google. At like the first priority was Google, then it came as Amazon, then Microsoft, then startups, and then service-based company. Luckily, I got actually one of the startups as media.net, and then I researched about it, and I was I was like, okay, I'm gonna join this uh, in front of Amazon because I did work with Amazon for 6 months, and somewhere down the line I did not like the work culture. That's why I chose media.net. But yeah, that will be my okay. I see people saying Google, of course. Apple again doesn't hire a lot of freshers from India. It goes into tier one colleges and does hire, but I think majority of them are saying Google, and some are saying Walmart as well, Microsoft, okay, Amazon as well. So yeah, these were my companies. So we'll be talking about the hiring and everything of these companies. So yeah, steps to get into product based companies. As you see, obviously the first step, as everyone knows, is the most difficult one, that is getting the interview call, because like we keep on applying all the career portal sites, and we hardly hear back from them. And I think 10 in hundreds hear back, and probably 1 in 100 will land up that dream job. So the first step is definitely getting that interview call, which we'll be talking in detail. So all these steps mentioned will be talked in detail when I move across the slide. So getting that interview call is super tough. That is something which I personally feel, a personal experience being from a tier 3 college. And that is the stuff that we will be talking in depth. And then the second toughest is definitely clearing the coding round, because I feel everyone nowadays can go through DSA, because everyone knows, let's go and do some lead code, let's get across some famous interview questions, and probably run through some interview experiences, and we will be making through most of the DSA interviews. But clearing the coding round is something which is still like, if you have done a lot of competitive programming, I think you will sail through. But what if you have not done competitive programming, then how are you planning to sail through it? So that is something which I'll be talking, and I'll be giving you some amazing tips. Trust me, you would have not heard those tips previously. After that, there is something as clearing project, core subject, and design rounds. I'll be giving you some tips for project rounds. Again, that is something which you would have not heard before. And right after that, it'll be negotiating the office. If not a fresher, like a fresher, like if you're someone who's a service based, who's in a service based company and is looking to negotiate, I'll be talking about how did I negotiate my offer and what are the rules that you need to follow. Okay, so let's get into the first step, that is way I recommend you to apply is, now generally what you do is, imagine I'm starting to prepare right now, and I know 6 months down the line I will be interviewing with a lot of companies, or if you're in your third year, you know that in fourth year you'll be interviewing with a lot of companies. That is when I decide that, okay, let's imagine, so I see a lot of LinkedIn posts. Like I'm very, very active on LinkedIn. So what I do is I check out, okay, someone posted, I joined Amazon. And usually in most of those places, they mention the company and the location as well. So I keep a Google sheet. Generally, that is what I do. I keep a Google sheet. Okay, Amazon did hire from a tier 3 college or off campus via this program. So I make a Google sheet. I note down that company and the hiring month. Imagine someone did post in January that I got selected or I got an offer. So I assume that the hiring month was January, and I keep a Google sheet in my third year. And even if you're planning to switch, someone who has switched, you can follow those people and see when they when did they switch, and write down all those companies that they've switched from, like into. So make a Google sheet right from the day you start preparing, or if you're in your third year, make a Google sheet. That is a must. What happens is, you get into your fourth year or you are like interview ready, and right after that you want to switch, but you don't know which companies to switch, and again you waste 1 or 2 months figuring out the companies that you need to apply. So always be active on LinkedIn, and any day anyone posts key this company is the one that offered me, just pick up that name and put that into the Google sheet. Now when you are picking up those companies name in every LinkedIn post, something you would have seen common. Have you seen these LinkedIn posts? Like can you just tell me in the comment section, every time someone does write a LinkedIn post about congratulating or appreciating that I'm going to join, and they do appreciate the recruiter for the smooth hiring process, you would have seen, right? Can you tell me in the comment section, you would have seen thanking XYZ for the smooth hiring process. Everything was very smooth. So there is a name that is tagged. Try to write that name in your Google sheet as well. Try to connect with them right at that point. The reason I say that is, probably whenever you are going to apply to that company, you know there was a recruiter that did the hiring 6 months back. So really you can reach out to that recruiter via, never know, like via in-mail of LinkedIn. You can just get a LinkedIn premium, and for 6 7 months when you're applying, and then you can just reach out to the recruiter via in-mail, right? Or what you can do is, if you know that, probably you can figure out the email ID somewhere down the line. Like if you have a friend working at Amazon, if you have someone working, you can just go and tell, hey, can you just give me that email ID of that recruit? I'm not gonna say that you gave me. Take that email ID, write a very cold, soft email that you have these skills, and you saw that she was hiring for that role couple of months back, and then just tell them, okay, can you just give me an opportunity? And trust me, this works like magic. Like if you can just manage the email ID from somewhere and you can drop a very, very professional mail, this works like a magic. So always, any day someone is posting, don't get demotivated. Instead, try to connect with the recruiter, and when you're appearing, take that name, try to figure out a cold email, like try to figure out the email ID from somewhere. It's very easy to figure out, trust me. Just try to figure out that email ID and right there, because going via referral actually takes time, and there, like, I cannot assure you that if you take a referral you're going to get the call back. But if you're going via recruiter, the chances are 100% if the recruiter replies you. Okay. So the next thing is, if you're not able to manage a recruiter email ID, or if you're not able to connect with the recruiter somehow or the other, you just go for referrals. Now, how can you manage referrals? Again, a very, very important thing. I've seen people texting me for referrals. That's okay, because I'm super active on LinkedIn, Instagram, on my YouTube channel. But there are a lot of people who are not super active on LinkedIn. For an example, like someone like who's having 1 lakh followers. Now, if you imagine someone posted Amazon is hiring, and you will be texting people with 1 lakh followers that please give me a referral. Now you texted, just imagine, people like you, there will be thousands of people who are like you. They would have also texted the same guy. So imagine how tough it is for that guy to refer you. So try to target proper, like the correct people for referrals. Now what do you mean by correct people? Try to search via company name, like if Amazon is hiring or XYZ is hiring, try to write that XYZ company name in the search box, and then go to the people and just check out, okay, he has probably 1000, 2000, 3000 followers, he's still active on LinkedIn, he likes the post occasionally in 1 2 days, he's active, right? So this is how you figure out, okay, this is the guy whom I need to connect. So connect with them, probably take that name and write that into the Google sheet that you made, that for Amazon this guy can be contacted in future, and whenever there is an opportunity you can just reach out to that guy. This is a process that you have to follow. But don't text people who have a lot of higher number of followers, because they will be referring 50 60 people. Chances of hearing back is significantly less. You might not get a reply. So that is something which you can do it. But yeah, reaching out to the recruiter does help. Like I scheduled some of the interviews for my previous companies by just telling the recruiter that, okay, these are the guys, can you just, and whoever is referring you, probably you can just have a conversation with him. And if you have a good conversation, if you have a good profile, you can request him that instead of, like, you have referred in the career portal, that is okay. Along with that, you can just request that referral guy, can you please drop down the, like, can you please drop a cold message to the recruiter that please check out my profile, that will be of immense help. These are the things you should take. Like, just don't say, okay, I got a referral, I will apply and then I'll wait. Don't do that. If you're not getting a call back in 10 15 days, get to the same person again, tell him or her that, can you please reach out to the recruiter, I did not get a call back. So these are the things that you need to do. Now the other thing is, which is very very underrated, is Naukri.com. Trust me, it is very 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 good. Naukri.com is like, you might, like, you'll get Amazon recruiters a lot, and you'll get a lot of startup recruiters, lot over there. So Naukri.com is there. Then there is something as an Insta Hire is also there. So you can definitely reach out to something like instahire.com, make a profile. But whenever you make a profile, something which is very 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 important is keywords. Please make sure you give the correct keywords, because recruiter will never search your profile. What they do is, if they need a Java developer, they will search something like Java as the keyword. So be it your LinkedIn profile, be it your Insta Hire profile, be it your Naukri.com profile, everything should have Java mentioned specifically. So make sure whichever job IDs or profiles you're looking for, right? Like if you're a Java developer, write as Java developer, then write as software engineer, then whatever keywords are there for Java, just push that in. Just push that in. That's it. That is something which you have to do on LinkedIn, Naukri.com, InstaHire, and if there are any other third party uh, job profiles. Now something which I like to mention is, try to, in your LinkedIn headline, try to mention something like hash Java developer. That catches the recruiter very very fast. Instead of in your skills, you add that in your skills, but try to write them in your headline of LinkedIn. The headline should be crisp and to the point. Like if you're a software engineer, you write software engineer slash Java developer slash some other developer. If you are, just write it on your headline, because that does, like, if the recruiter is searching for a Java developer or a Python developer, then your profile will appear right in the top 10 top 15 in most of the chances, if you're looking out for a job. Also, there is something as LinkedIn jobs. Every night, just go across all the today's posting of LinkedIn jobs, just go on applying. If you apply for 500 600 companies, I have heard people like getting jobs via LinkedIn jobs as well. So these things you can do as well. Okay, clear coding rounds. How many are there who actually face a lot of toughness when it comes to coding rounds? Can I just get a yes on the chat box? How many of you are there who actually face a lot of toughness when it comes to coding round? Okay, I'll wait because the chat is delayed by 20 seconds. I need to wait. Okay, cool. I'll just wait. Okay, I see some responses. So some people do face. So how do you clear coding rounds? How do you clear coding rounds? So you know how to clear coding rounds. One of the easiest ways is, you're very good at competitive programming. You're doing competitive programming right from your first year, right from your second year. You've been nailing at competitive programming. So if you are nailing at competitive programming, I think you don't need to worry about it. Just keep on practicing competitive programming, and most of the times you will sail through all the coding rounds. Yeah, might be for some companies like Coordination, Media.net, or some tougher companies you might not, but for most of the companies like startups, Amazon, Microsoft, Flipkart, PhonePe, Swiggy, Zomato, all these cred, all these startups coding rounds are generically focused on algorithmic questions, slightly tweaked versions of algorithms, so you will be sailing through it very very easily. But yeah, for Coordination and all these things, there will be digit DP, there will be SOSDP, then there will be segment trees, then there will be 2D segment trees, so it will be tough for Coordination and etc. But what if because I'm assuming a lot of people like, what is the, like, which year are you from? Can you just give me the year? Are you from first year, second year, third year, fourth year, or a pass out who's looking to switch? Can you just tell me the demographics in the comment section so that I have a clear vision of whom I'm addressing, so that according to that I can frame my answer. So what if like you're in your third year, fourth year, probably you are in your switching phase, and if not done CP, I don't think you should start CP, because it's not a good time in your third year, fourth year to start competitive programming, because competitive programming is something which should be done with full freedom, and freedom only comes when you have no pressure, and there is no pressure in first, second year when you enjoy CP. That's it. So I'll recommend you, if you have not done a CP, there is something as Lead Code weekly contest. I know a lot of people are working, a lot of people have college. So on Sunday, 8 a.m. in the morning, there is something as Lead Code morning weekly contest. And then every second Saturday and fourth Saturday, there is something as Lead Code bi-weekly contest. Yes, there's something as Lead Code bi-weekly contest as well. So you can definitely go across. And okay, looks like there's a bunch of third, fourth years, and just give me a minute. Yeah, there's a bunch of third, fourth years and a bunch of pass outs as well. So if you have not done CP, then I'll highly recommend you go and do Lead Code weekly contest. The reason is all those weekly contests are specifically based on algorithms. Like I've seen them asking new questions. So you actually are giving a time frame, like it's similar to coding rounds, because there will be 1.5 hours. They'll ask you to solve 3 questions and 4 questions, sorry, and all the questions will be new. There will be no repetitive questions. So you actually think for that 1.5 hours and you brainstorm. So it's a kind of online environment, coding environment as well. So you can definitely try out Lead Code weekly contest. Now, what apart from that? I will always recommend you to read interview experiences. I've seen in all the interview experiences, there is a section for coding round where the person who has written the interview experience does tell you about that. In the coding round, the first question was this, the second question was based on this, and they always give you a link of like a reference link that this was the question that was asked, right? So that is something which I'll recommend you for sure. Please go through all the interview experiences, and in the interview experiences, whatever questions are there in the coding round, try to take that up, and that will help you immensely. Okay, as the next thing is try to master algorithms. Now, for an example, let's pick up an algorithm, Dijkstra's algorithm. Okay, now it's a shortest path algorithm in graphs. Now what usually people do is, if they're preparing for interviews, they just learn Dijkstra, or they just understand Dijkstra, that okay, I'm going to use priority queue, I'm going to store distance and the node, and then I'm going to just run some adjacent nodes, and then I'm going to do some comparisons, I'm going to push it. That's it. They just know about this. So what I'll recommend you to do is, if you are learning something like a Dijkstra's algorithm, learn the algorithm and understand it deeply. Don't just, like, if someone is in a Dijkstra's algorithm, if priority queue is used, ask why priority queue is used. Don't just assume that okay, priority queue is used, so I'll use it. Always ask this question. So this is what I mean by master that algorithm. And after, once you have understood Dijkstra's algorithm, go across and solve uh, 5 to 10 problems on that algorithm, so that that algorithm is mastered. The next time when in the coding rounds a question related to Dijkstra's algorithm comes up, you don't have to think that much, and you can easily probably solve that question, right? And the other thing that I will recommend you to do is, if you're in a second year, third year, fourth year, or a pass out, what I'll recommend you to do is, if someone is switching, okay, that like, or someone is appearing for interviews, always tell them, like, your friends would be appearing, your seniors would be appearing, there will be a lot of people who would be appearing, right? Just tell them one thing. Just take a screenshot or take a photograph when you're giving the coding rounds. Right after the coding rounds, you can share me the questions. I want to practice them. I want to see what are the level of the questions, so that you get a fair bit of idea. Like, I'll tell you a funny story. When I was in my second year now, so I was the best coder in my college at that moment, because there was not a lot of coding that was there in my college. So I was kind of like the best coder in my college in my second year. So there were a lot of third year and fourth year who were appearing for interviews and internship interviews. So what, there was a coding round, so they always came up to me, hey Striver, can you please solve this coding round, can you please help us? So I was giving a lot of coding rounds from second third year. So that actually helped me to understand what kind of questions are generally asked in coding round. I actually have given XYZ companies coding round 20-25 times till now in my college, just because in my colleges I was not an influencer, or I was not someone who was that tied to ethics. I was like, okay, what I did not see, okay, the senior got help or not. What I saw was, okay, I'm getting practice. If I'm giving this coding round, I am getting super practice. Now I just went across and gave every coding round that every senior asked me to give, because I think, okay, I'm getting a practice which will eventually help me in the next phase of my life, which is my fourth year, where I appear for interviews. I will have prior experience of giving these coding rounds, because when I gave these coding rounds for seniors, I did not have any pressure. But when you give it for yourself, there will be a different pressure, but you have still, like, you have experienced that time of pressure. Understood? So please do it. Like, it's a must. Like, if you're in your second third year, just give your senior coding rounds, and if they're not allowing you to, just tell them, please share the screenshot and think on that. Ask them, how did you solve? Must. Okay, so that is something which I will recommend you to do. Clear coding rounds. Are there any doubts in clear coding rounds? I'll just ask that, and then I'll move across to the next one. Can you just tell me if there are any doubts in the clear coding rounds? Everyone has understood all the tips? Has everyone understood all the tips? Can you just tell me in the comment section if you have understood all the tips? Everyone, everyone. Okay, I'll wait for the yes, and then I'll move to the next section. Okay, everyone's understood. Any doubt? No doubts? Perfect. Please follow these methods. You will be able to ace coding rounds. Okay, master algorithms is the most important thing. Okay, clearing DSA round. So if you know DSA, it's very important to know basic DSA. Basic DSA can be learned from anywhere. Try to learn basic DSA at first. That is something. Don't pick up any sheet when you start with basic DSA. Just pick up a topic, arrays, and then try to learn. Like, for an example, if I'm saying, okay, I'm going to learn, like, if you're starting with basic DSA, now you need to learn arrays, right? So you can probably pick up arrays, and then you can learn arrays from any of the internet topics. Then if you pick up something like linked list, then you can just pick up linked list and solve as many questions as you want, probably on any other platforms like LeetCode or GFG or Code Studio, any of the platforms, right? Once you are sure that your basic DSA is clear. Now, what do I mean by basic DSA? You know what is a stack, how is stack implemented, you know, basic questions like next create element in a stack, you know what is binary search, you know, simple questions for binary search, right? So once you know these things, you're ready. Your DSA is ready. Now you need to be interview ready. In order to be interview ready, what you need to do is pick up the SD sheet. Now, what I have done is I faced this problem during my college days. Now, I always did a lot of problems, always did a lot of problems. But when it came to interviews, I wanted to revise, because, you know, there will be a bunch of problems. No matter how many times you do, you still that goes off your brain. Like problems like rainwater trapping. It's a problem that does not stays in your brain. Something like largest rectangle histogram. So that also will never stay in your brain. Probably like next permutation. If you know, you know, otherwise you don't know, right? So that's where I thought, okay, how do I bridge that gap? So what I did was I said, okay, I want to make a list of questions. I want to make a list of questions, which is going to be the questions for that topic. Now, what do I mean by the questions? If I'm doing binary search, I'm going to pick up 8 questions. And if I do those 8 questions, I cover up everything. Because at max, there will be 8 variants of binary search. At max, there will be, how many variants of array can there be? There can be 12, 15 variants of array. Dynamic programming, there can be 10, 12 variants of dynamic programming. Graph, there can be hardly 10, 12 variants. Questions can be 100, but variants will be hardly 10, 12, 15, 20, not more than that. I picked up a question from every variant, and the toughest question. Why toughest? Because I know if I am revising the toughest question, one thing, if you once are solving the tougher versions, then the easy looks much easier, right? So what I did was I just made sure ki for every variant I picked up the toughest question. For binary search, there were 8 variants. I picked up 8 tough questions, and I made that sheet for every topic in that way. And that is where the success lies, because everyone does tough questions, and after that, when they go to the interview, the easier questions looks easier. But you can only do the SDE sheet if you know basic DSA, otherwise no. So you need to know basic DSA. By the way, I've just launched an SD sheet challenge today, right? So there's a 60 days challenge. If you are willing to pick up the SD sheet right away, you can just go across and pick up the SD sheet and start solving it. 60 days. It'll require you 40 to 50 days. You can just start. And the other important aspect of clearing the DSA round is interview experiences. I am a firm believer that if you have interviews scheduled in 15 days, 10 days should be a revision. The last 5 days should be interview experiences at every platform. At every platform, I personally will recommend you to go with Lead Code's interview experience, because they are very up to date. Then you can go to GFG, and then you can follow other platforms. But Lead Code's interview experience tab is very, very recent. Like, people do post over there. So just pick up interview experiences, try to solve those problems, because you will get variety of problems. If you're reading one interview experience, you might find a problem from binary tree, from graph. In the next interview experience, you might find problem from dynamic programming, heaps. The next, you might find problems from tries and some other topic like binary search. So eventually you are exploring all the fields, and you're getting a revision in your way. So please read interview experience. That will give you confidence that you can make it. Because when you go for interviews of Google, Amazon, always there is a self doubt. Do we belong here? Can we make it? There is always that self doubt in yourself. Do I belong here? That will always be there. But the more and more interview experiences you read, it always feels like easier. This is easier. They're asking easy questions. I can answer this. Come on, I can answer this. So that confidence will come up the more interview experiences you solve, and the more confident you will be in your DSA rounds. And one other tip that I will give for DSA rounds is, please do not like, if you have seen the question, a lot of people will say, just tell the interviewer that I have seen the question. I'll say no. I Why will you say, man, you've prepared for 1 year? You've prepared for 1 year. That is why you know the question. That is why there's a common question, and your luck is good. And if you are getting a good luck, don't let it go. Ethics and all घर में अच्छे लगते हैं, बोलने में अच्छे लगते हैं. Ethics and all sounds good in writing, in word, but when it comes to job, first job, man, then ethics. If you know a question, fine. I know a question because I have done it for 1 year. I practiced DSA for 1 year. That is the reason I know this question. Tell that to yourself. Don't tell that to yourself that I've seen this question. This is cheating. No, this is hard work, that you know the question. So if you know the question, fine enough. Take some time and tell him the solution. Probably you can just go from brute, efficient, and then to the brute better to the efficient. That is the flow to maintain. Also maintain code quality. That is something which I always tell people. Please maintain code quality. Please modularize your code. Like, just don't write everything in one function. Try to make 3-4 functions if the code gets longer. Okay, let's get to the next one. Project rounds. It's a people keep on, like, by the way, please like the session if you're watching it. A lot of people keep asking me about project rounds. For freshers, you don't need to create bulky projects. No one is asking you to build Amazon.in 1 day. So we don't expect you to build bulky projects. Like, I was an interviewer during my time. Like, I am not interviewing now at Google because of the uh, conflict of interest. Because I do have a YouTube channel where I teach data structures and algorithms. I take these kind of sessions. So if I am taking these kind of sessions, somewhere down the line, I'm giving you tips. So I personally don't feel like taking an interview at Google, because at media.net, what happened with me was, every time I went in to take an interview, that front guy was like, "Are Striver, you?" Every time I face this, like, the moment I turned on the camera, I joined the interview, and I was like, "Are Striver, be up?" So I was not able to be professional there, because मैं वहाँ पे rude नहीं हो सकता, या फिर मैं वहाँ पे normal भी नहीं हो सकता थोड़ा, क्योंकि interviews कभी कभी they are rigid, they don't give you hints, and like कभी बेसिक फंडा है, देखो इंटरव्यू दे रहे हो, इंटरव्यू अगर like if you're able to solve in the interview is good, but if you're not able to solve in the interview, तो फिर इंटरव्यू खराब है, तो फिर मैं खराब नहीं बन पाता था. So that is why I stopped taking interviews. But whatever span I've taken interviews, or I have interacted with a lot of people, as a fresher, we don't look for major projects. We don't look that you have made something huge. What we look is, have you done a couple of projects? Have you explored? Explode is a very key word. Have you explored backend? Have you explored frontend? Are you aware of Git? Do you know how to solve an error? Because if you have done a project, you would have faced bug and you would have solved it day in and day out. That is something which we look for in our time. Got it? So try to make couple of projects. That is what I'll say. Try to make couple of projects. But when you make couple of projects, just make sure that those couple of projects are good enough. Don't make a project which is like to do app. That is not a project. Okay. Try to make couple of projects. And how do you represent them? Now, uh, when you are just a minute, I'll pick up questions. Please wait. I'll pick up questions. So when you're going into the interviews, I've seen people speaking rubbish. When I say explain their project, like this I've done, that I've done, that I've done. No flow, because they're nervous. And the moment you say explain projects, they're saying something and they go so deep that they forget that, okay, I need to actually say the other feature as well, and they waste their time. So they're like, uh, there's absolutely no flow or no direction to their presentation. That is why I always like, I'm giving you a talk. I could have not made a presentation. You need to understand, I could have not made a presentation. What do I mean by not made a presentation? I would have just spoke. But if I would have spoke, I would have probably taken up a topic and I was 10 minutes there, then 20 minutes somewhere. So it would have been very unorganized. When I'm taking a presentation, it looks very compact. You are also watching it, you're also reading it yourself. So there is an interaction. So in your interviews, try to follow this. If you're making a project, try to make a 6-7 slider where you explain the project stepwise. Don't explain code. The first should be from where did the idea came up, why did you decide to make this project. Second slide, you can probably say the features that you have implemented in the project. The third slide can be what problems did you face during the build of this project. The fifth can be how did you solve them. The sixth slide can be and probably a small video which demonstrates your project. The seventh can be something like what are you planning in future. 6-7 compact slides which you read out in an interview is amazing for an interview. I am definitely sure I've not heard about this. Cool. So that is what you will say. And please don't make something like sorting visualizer. Projects which are in most of the resumes, try to avoid that. Okay. Now, 3 rules to follow while negotiating. No desperation. Please make sure there is absolutely no desperation. What happens is, I've seen recruiters playing games. Let me give you some instances which you'll be able to connect to. So generally, when you are interviewing for Google or Amazon or Microsoft or some XYZ company, what happens is uh, we give an interview and we wait for feedback. And if there are like 5 days gone by the interview, and then we start showing desperation, we start mailing the recruiter, hey, can you just give me the feedback? And she's like, okay, I'll be back in a couple of days. So after that, again, can you please give me the feedback? So in the recruiter understands that you're actually inclined towards Google or Amazon, right? And they just market that, okay, this guy actually wants to come to Google. Even if I pay him X rupees lesser than the other companies, he will come because he's desperate enough. Why? Because they know they are a brand. So no desperation, nothing. If someone is if you're giving an interview, given an interview, forget about that. If in 3-4 weeks they have not responded, then reach out. That and reach out in a professional manner, that hey, actually, I got some other offers. So just in case, if there is no feedback, just let me know, I'll just drop off this job profile. Tell them in this way instead of saying, please tell me the. So no desperation. The first sign should be no desperation. And also, whenever like the recruiter comes up and tells you congratulations, you made it to Amazon, a lot of people are like, yes, thank you so much, this is the best day of my life. I've seen people telling like this. I understand your emotion, I understand everything, but on a phone, do not say that I made it. Like if they're saying congratulations, or like Thank you so much. But before moving ahead, can you just tell me more about the compensation and the role, because I'm still fully not satisfied. If you want to join, like for Google, that happened with me. They said congratulations, and the next thing I said thank you so much, but I still want to know about the compensation details, and along with that the role, and I want to sit back with the hiring manager, because I'm still now not convinced that I should switch or join you. That's very important that you have no. I was very happy, but you don't need to show it. Show it in your family. Don't show it over the phone to the recruiter any day. Nothing to be shy. If you need 5x, just say it. Yeah, just say it. Like for an example, there would be a lot of people who are having a salary of 3 lakh, 4 lakh, 5 lakh, 6 lakh. And suddenly Amazon comes up. For an example, I'm taking Amazon comes up, and Amazon knows that, okay, he's working in TCS, he's got 3 lakh or a 5 lakh or a 7 lakh or a 8 lakh. If I give him a base of 15, if I give him a joining bonus of 2, 3, and make a total compensation of 20 to 23 per year, he will come across and join my company. Amazon knows that. Why? Because for a guy who's working at 6 lakh, for him, a 18 lakh base is like 3x, and then a addition bonus of 3 lakh is like icing on the cake. So please don't do that. Just go onto lead code, on the compensation tab, check out what is the compensation of that company for your years of experience. And if you have 1 year experience at Amazon, generally pays around 20 lakh base. But if you do not negotiate, the starting offer they give you is 15 lakh base. Tell them straightforward that, listen, the base that I did ask my friends. I also went through a lot of online uh, compensation websites. I see that the base that you offer is 20 lakh. You just state me a reason why are you offering 15 lakh. Just write them. Don't ask them to give 20 lakh. Just tell them, you just state me a reason why am I being offered 15 lakh where my interview is not good. Just I want a reason for being offered a lesser amount than other engineers. Just tell them like that, and that is the moment they'll come up and say, no, no, we can definitely work on this. And they'll ask you what is the amount that you expect. So you will always never quote amount, never ever quote amount. Always tell them that I'm looking something which is close to what is mentioned in the websites, or probably just give them a link and say them I'm looking somewhere near about this. Got it? Do not say I need 20 lakh. Give them a link and tell them I need something around this. That's how you negotiate. That's how you negotiate with recruiters, right? And if they say no, this is something which I cannot make, then tell them clearly, I will see. Just tell them clearly that, see, I will accept this offer, but if tomorrow a company, like, if you're giving me 15 lakhs, if Amazon is giving me 50 lakhs, I'll tell Amazon, okay, I don't have an offer as of now, but I'll accept it. But don't tell me if I don't join, because I will be interviewing with other companies, because I feel personally 15 is lesser according to industry standards. But just because I don't have an offer, I will I will be interviewing. So I'm just informing you that. But as of now, I'm accepting the offer. If they do not agree, tell them these things, because a recruiter's biggest fear is losing you, because they have invested 2 months in hiring you and they don't want to lose you right at the end. And the last tip that I follow is negotiate every day you have something significantly better. Significantly means, if you're having an offer of 20 lakh base and someone came up and gave you 21 lakh base, no need to negotiate. Don't go and negotiate for 1 lakh. It leaves a bad impression. But if you have a 20 lakh base, someone came up and gave you 25 lakh base, go and tell the recruiter that, okay, hey, listen, I know the date of joining is 2 days after, but I still want a better one because I got a 25 one. You have to give me 25. And they will, because you are joining in 2 days. They've closed the opening and they can't waste another 3 months to hire someone. They will give you. So always keep interviewing till you join. Always go and tell them that I have a significant better. Even if you're in your job profile and if you feel that you're not compensated well enough, right, you just need to tell the people that tell the manager or the recruiter or the HR that I feel the compensation is not according to market standards. Or even if your increment is less, just tell them that the increment is very less, I feel it's very low. If something is not done for this, probably I'll be interviewing with other companies. Just give them a hint. No need to dhamki mat dena. Just give them a hint that, okay, I feel it is lesser to the market standards. So please look at this. Otherwise, I'll have to look at other options. This is how you say. Please always add a please to everything that you say, so that it looks very humble, and just be polite. These are the rules for negotiating that I followed. Okay. Now, a lot of people were asking me, who am I? So basically, my name goes as Raj. Vikramaditya. That is what you can search on LinkedIn. You can connect to me at LinkedIn. Raj Vikramaditya is my name. And yeah, on Instagram, it goes by strive_7, and mail ID is strive collab. And the Telegram ID is Take You Forward. And the YouTube channel is Take You Forward and Striver. Like there are two channels you can definitely follow out. So I will be taking across questions. The next session that we will be doing will be on Ask Me Anything. So probably our host will be picking up some questions and I'll be answering them. So over to the host.
Yes, thank you, Raj. I think that was a very wonderful session, and I'm sure students must have found it very, very insightful. Now, to add on to all those things, if any one of the students, any one of the learners who are attending this session are interested in doing a program formally, if you want to, let's say, do a PG program in product management or analytics, so we have a lot of programs for which the link will be shared in the chat box. So I would request all the students who are attending this session to check the chat box in which we will be sharing the links for our four programs. One is PG program in product management and analytics, which is in collaboration with Great Lakes Executive Learning. Then we also have a PG program in software development and engineering. We also have a program where you can earn academic credentials from IIT Roorkee, that is advanced certificate program in full stack software development, and a PG program in cloud computing. So I had told you four domains over here. If you are interested in any of these domains and you want to earn a certificate, you want a formal education for like a 6 months plan or a 11 months plan, we have different plans for that. You can go to the links which are shared in the chat box, check out the website. You can even download our brochure by giving your details. And if you want further details related to a particular program, what will be covered in that, will you get a placement assistant or not, I'm sure you will get all these doubts. And if you have any of these doubts, you want to connect with any one of our program managers, you can do that as well by downloading our brochure and giving your details. So make sure you check out the links which are shared in the chat box for all these online programs. You download the brochure, get to know the details of the program, and you can even get in touch with our program managers. So that's all I had to mention. Now, if you guys have any questions, any queries, please feel free to use the chat box, put up the queries in the chat box, and Raj will be taking all those questions.
So
Thank you.
Shantanu, will you be picking up some questions for me, because that will be of great help, or I will
Definitely, I can do
sure,
that as well. That will be
sure.
great. Yes, so there's one person, Lakshaddeep Vikram, who's asking that I am a Flutter developer. Should I keep going with this or change this for getting into Google? I am a final year student, and he's also asking क्या Google ही end है या फिर कुछ और है क्या?
So
Okay.
see, it's not about just being there are a lot of other companies who pay very like on par with Google, and there are also companies who pay more than Google. 2x of Google also is something a lot of companies are paying, but obviously they are a lot risk prone. You have heard about a lot of layoffs being happening nowadays, so they are definitely a lot of risk prone companies. But then there's a lot of other companies that you can definitely Google about that. I actually released a list of all the companies. You can check out my videos, you'll get to know about that. But a Flutter developer, see, Google will not see what are you when you're in your fourth year. When you go to the interview, Google is not going to ask you, hey, you're a Flutter developer, so I'm not going to hire you. Google does not say that. Google says, I'm going to see if that guy has a talent, right? So Google is going to interview you on the basis of your problem solving skills. All the rounds will be based on data structures and algorithms. Once you clear the round, depending on your choices, then you can sit down with the recruiter, hiring manager, and probably you can figure out a possible role. Because if you have done Flutter Android development, you need some role which is like a team which does Android development. You just ask them specifically, they'll map you to that team. So you don't need to change what you do. It's more about your problem solving skills. In order to able to get into Google, don't change anything, just go across. But yeah, for other companies, then you have to specifically apply for Flutter developer and all these for startups. Hey, that will be the answer.
Yes, thank you, Raj. There's one more question by Naren, that in fourth semester, should I focus on DSA lead code or CP?
In fourth semester, I can say that you should definitely like DSL lead code is something which you should always do. And the side by side, you can probably try out computer programming and try out for 3-4 months. You never know, you might find it interesting. Do it if you enjoy it. Just don't do it because you want to do it for placements. For placements, you can follow the other steps that I said. Try computer programming, because the reason I say that is I have seen people enjoying it. and I've seen people achieving heights. I've also seen people like not doing well in competitive programming, but they just like the vibe of competitive programming. Now when I say vibe, they just like vibe in the sense they just like the timer running, and they being able to solve the question in a time frame. They just like that there is a time bound environment. So people like these things. You might like these things. Yeah, you might not be able to perform well in a longer run. You might be able to, like, you're stuck in just solving three questions. So that is the reason. What I'm saying is, try competitive programming for 3-4 months. If you enjoy it, continue. If you don't enjoy it, stick to DSA. But DSA is something which is mandatory. Lead code is mandatory. You can't avoid that.
All right, thank you, Raj. I think there are a few questions that students are asking related to the great learning programs that I talked about. So I can answer that. So
Sure,
I
sure.
see a few students are asking me about the fees and all. So I think we have shared the links for all the programs that I talked about in the chat box. So I would request the students to go to those programs. It's not like there is only one fees for each program. Each and every program is different. Some programs are for 6 months, some are for 11 months. We had different collaboration with different universities from IIT Roorkee to Great Lakes to Great Learning. There are different programs. So just visit those links, check out the programs, and if you want to know more details about the programs, download the brochure by giving your details, and our program managers will call you and will explain each and everything to you. So I hope that answers your question. Now, moving on to the next question, I think Raj, this question is for you. That Chinodo is asking that which programming languages do you think are preferred for these companies?
Uh, Again, when you go for an interview, hardly in any of the companies you will find a programming language bound. They welcome you to solve the given problem in C++, Java, Python, JavaScript, whichever language you are comfortable with. They just tell you, we want the solution for the problem. I don't want, if you tell, like, if you're asking me a answer, I can tell that in English में, हिंदी में बोलूं या फिर मैं बांग्ला, like, बंगाली में बोलूं, मीनिंग तो एक ही होगा, समझ रहे हो ना? तो अगर आप सी प्लस प्लस पे भी लिखते हो, मोटिव तो एक ही है ना, लॉजिक तो एक ही है. जावा में लिखो तो लॉजिक तो एक ही है, पाइथन में लिखो तो लॉजिक इज सेम. That is what generically most of the top product based companies focus on. They don't care which language you are coding in. What they care is, are you able to solve a problem in that time? Are you able to come up with approaches? Are you able to tackle it? That's the main stuff. But still going that, most of the time, like, most of the industry does C++ or Java. You'll see most of the people doing C++ or Java. Python is something which you can do, but yeah, these three languages are majorly, don't do JavaScript DSA, because what happens is the interviewer does not understand JavaScript a lot of times. If you're back at, like, if the interviewer is a backend developer and he's interviewing you, you will explain him, but the impact will be lesser. That's why C++ or Java or Python, no priority. Do anything you wish to.
All right, there's one question that Naman is asking that in how many days I can complete DSA from a basic to a master level.
Okay, so as I said, there is nothing like days. Someone might take 60 days, someone might end up taking a year, someone might end up taking 2 years. uh, like, there can never be a perfect answer to this. Instead of figuring out how many days, instead of uh, thinking on how many days it will take, just start. The problem with most of the people is, we think a lot. We think, what is that we need to start, what is that we need to do? So we think immensely, and that is something which we should not do. Do not think immensely. Instead of that, just start. Just keep on doing. If it's taking 6 months, it's well and good. If it's taking 1 year, it's well and good. Yeah. If it is taking 1 year, can you do something else? No, na. You have to do DSA. As whatever time it takes, fine, I'm going to do it. So instead of thinking and procrastinating, start right away.
All right, Raj. So I see a lot of students are thanking you for answering their queries. And meanwhile,
Sure.
Pavan Kumar has asked a question that I am a 2022 passed out. Currently, he's working in Capgemini as a senior research and a senior analyst. And he's asking that what should I focus more in the next 5 to 6 months to switch to product-based company?
I think if you're working at a Capgemini company, when you go to a product based company, there'll be two things that will be, like, they will be looking for. outside, like if you like, I'm assuming you have not done significant projects with Capgemini. Even if you would have done, the impact would have been very lesser, because I know the work you guys do in service based company, the impact is lesser. Even if the impact is very high, then the quality gets reduced. So generally, in an interview, what they see is, have you done something outside of your work? Are you actually interested in software engineering? Are you actually interested in development? So what they focus on is, okay, this guy has been working for 1 year. What has he done apart from his job? uh, so that's the reason I always say ki, in your free time, in your weekends, try to build projects. For anyone who's working in a service based company, the first goal should be, do not just rely on the tech stack that you're working on your service based companies, because most of the service based companies are working on tech stack which is like million years old. So it's super outdated. So that's why I always recommend to everyone who's working in a service based, in your weekends, try to learn the new tech. Like in our industry, Java is something which is widely used, Java Spring Boot. Then there is something as React, which is coming across, Angular is coming across, widely used, massively used. So in your free time, in your weekend, try to learn these tech stack and try to build something of your own, so that when you're trying to switch, you can tell them that, okay, I'm not limited to something which I was learning in service based. I am someone who's willing to learn. I'm someone who is willing to innovate. That is something which you have to give as a message to the recruiter or the hiring manager who is going to hire you. That's one thing. Projects is something which you have to do by yourself in your weekends. The second thing is definitely DS Algo is something which you have to work on. Third thing being, days for DS Algo, just refer SD sheet. I'm assuming since you're working at Capgemini or somewhere, you should be having basic knowledge of DS Algo. Just prepare your interviews from the SD sheet. And the third thing is design rounds. Try to go through low level designs. Try to read about system designs from blogs, not in depth, because you can counter it that since you have not worked at bigger scale companies, so system design is something which you are not good at. You can just honestly say this to the interviewer. But low level design is something which you understand or learn by reading. So I'll always recommend you to read about low level design in your free time. Design something like a book my show by yourself. Try to design a parking lot, elevator. Try to design a shopping mall, like something like that. Try to design whatever thing you are using in your daily life. Probably something like you do use WhatsApp, right? Like design a smaller version of WhatsApp. So try to do these things in your weekend. This is how you learn with time. Try to like designs will not have a specific answer. You will be designing something. Go to internet, Google design of WhatsApp, read across multiple designs, pick up learnings from them. That is what you need to do.
All right. Raj, Anurag Singh is asking that, sir, I am having a career gap of 2 years. Can you give me some advice before applying to off-campus placements as a tier 3 college pass out?
Career gap of 3 years, that's going to be very tough. You cannot apply directly. So what I'll recommend you is to probably target startups. There will be a lot of startups who are starting, who are hiring. You might get paid a bit less, but it's absolutely fine. You just need to kickstart from somewhere. Once you kickstart from somewhere, you don't have a career gap anymore. You're more like an experienced person. So try to target companies. Again, just go and make a profile on naukri.com. Search a lot of companies. Try to start with a startup. And for startups, you don't need that much of DS Algo. Try to build projects. Just make couple of good projects and try to showcase them to the startup founders or somewhere. They'll probably hire you. Once you get into a startup, then try to gain some experience by working. Don't leave in 6 months. Try to work for 1 year, 2 years, gain some experience, understand, learn, grow yourself, because 3 years you have not grown yourself. In that 1 2 years, try to grow yourself. Once you've grown yourself, right after that, start applying to all these product based companies. But yeah, at first, yeah, startup, try to join startup is something which I'll say.
Amarjit Kumar Singh is asking that, can you please explain more about the project part? What type of project should I do?
uh for uh, for freshers, just try to pick up a problem statement or day-to-day life. Like during our time, like recently, for an example I can give you, when COVID hit, right? So a lot of people made that COVID tracker app, where they use the APIs which were on the public platform. They made a user interface where you can track how many cases are there. per state and then per region as well. So that is something which a lot of people made because that was the need of the hour. So back in our days, there was e-commerce app like Flipkart, Amazon, but there was not something like a lot of apps like Mintra, something like Misho is there now, a lot of other apps coming in, right? So we felt it interesting. We found, okay, e-commerce app, come on, let's make it. So we made something like an e-commerce app. Then I had a couple of people in my college who made something like a dating app. So depends. You can make an app, you can make a website, you can probably work on something else. Just look out what is fascinating you. Like, for like, to me in my college days, I found backend development a lot fascinating. So I made something as a website. So depends what is fascinating you. Like, I used to travel a lot, so what I did was I made a traveling website. Now, for an example, imagine you are a person who travels a lot. So probably you can make and website where you store all your travel diaries. Now, what do you mean by travel diaries? Something like, you can just make it profile based, where people come up, sign up, and then if they're traveling somewhere, they can just punch in everything there, something like that, for yourself. Because I personally like keeping a lot of memories of travel, like something like Instagram highlight on a website. So just think on that. Like, you have to find the ideas and then you have to implement it. So that's it. That's your case.
Yes, Abhishek Paul is asking that can you still make it to the product-based companies if you are average at coding?
uh See, if you're average at coding, be good now. Everyone can be good with the number of resources. Why do people keep a tag key, I'm average? You can be better, right? So just try getting better, try getting better. You don't have to be like super good. If you're good, then it works out. Average, good, slightly more than average, it works out for product based companies. Don't over analyze that. I'm not good, will I make it, do I belong here, I'm average, I'll not make it. The moment you start over analyzing, there's a problem. If you feel that you have done a lot of questions, if you have not done, go and do it. That means you have not prepared. Once you have done 300, 400, 500 questions, after that, just start interviewing. Don't pass a judgment. Start interviewing, get rejected. Give interviews, get rejected. Give interviews, get rejected. How many times will you get rejected? We're giving 30 companies interviews. There will be a day that you will find questions common. You'll start finding questions common. You'll start finding concepts common, and eventually you'll make it. But yeah, after every rejection, try to solve that problem, which you could not. That is the point. Just keep rejecting. Like, don't just pass a judgment, I'm average. Do not do that any day. Go and give an interview. You never know. You would have done a problem yesterday night, and that problem would have been asked in an interview. You never know. Luck is a very, very big factor. Got it? Cool. I'll take a
Uh,
couple of questions more. Okay.
right. I think we can take one or two questions more.
Sure.
So there's one question for me. I think that Rajesh Patil has asked about if he completes the Great Learning programs, will we be helping him with the placement assistance? Yes, Rajesh, all those things are there. But again, I would suggest you, I won't be the right person to talk about that in detail. So you can go to our website, download the brochure, and you can also get in touch with our program managers. So if you'll download the brochure, you'll basically have to give your details. Once you'll give your details, our program managers will reach out to you and they will inform you each and everything, whatever questions you have related to any program, they will be helping you out with that. Hope that answers your question. And I think we can take one more question, Raj.
Sure.
That is, a person is asking that shall I practice SQL problems for these interviews?
Uh, SQL is not asked in a lot of companies, but still having knowledge. DBMS, it's a part of DBMS, so you have to have a knowledge of SQL as well. Some companies might give you queries to solve. And there's a lot of companies who have that coding round and an aptitude round. In aptitude round, they ask SQL questions. So in core subjects, operating system, DBMS, computer networks, three subjects, all the topics you should do. Do not leave anything unstored. Okay.
All right, I think we can wind up the session. I see most of the questions are answered. I think the session was wonderful and the learners were very, very enthusiastic and very interactive too. Thank you,
Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was wonderful, guys, interacting with you. I hope you enjoyed the session. So, just in case you did, please make sure you like this video and share it across your peers and everyone. And yeah, thank you, Great Learning Platform, for having me. It was a pleasure being hosted on your platform. Thank you.
Thank you, Raj. Thank you, all the learners. Happy weekend to all of you. Thank you. We'll wind up the session.
Is it over?